So, my title might be a bit dramatic. I do have a great life, but it took me some time to get here. I grew up in the mountains of Appalachia, yes, Appalachia, where the borders of Kentucky and Tennessee and Virginia meet, right smack in the middle of the Bible Belt. As if you didn't hear it, right? So for those of you that aren't familiar with the Bible Belt, it's a belt of social expectations. Have you ever worn a belt that's too tight? It's uncomfortable. I would argue that my hometown had the perfect pinch on my psyche. Maybe it still does. Very much like a belt that's too tight, it reminds you every single time you breathe. I went to a missionary Baptist church with my mama, which meant if you were having fun, it must be a sin. I disliked going to church with her because it meant I had to be quiet. I had to sit still, and I had to wear a dress. And although I loved being inside reading fairy tales and other books, I was also a tomboy and wanted to play in the dirt. You can't wear a dress and play in the dirt. Well, okay, you can, but you shouldn't. So this is my story. So I liked being outside and exploring. I wanted to spend my time riding horses and playing with all the animals. I especially loved my Tonka truck. I was a good girl who mostly followed the rules and did what she was told. I was a daddy's girl, but I got a little defiant when my parents separated in 1983 and later divorced. A few years later, in 1989, my sister and I were in the kitchen with my mother discussing a very important topic, prom. As a sophomore invited by a junior, it was a very big deal, y'all. But the topic soon turned into speculation between my sister and I because I thought this kid was gay. Okay, disclaimer, I didn't even understand what being gay meant, but whatever it was, in my small town, it wasn't good. So as my sister and I are speculating, the conversation must have been enough to get under my mama's skin. She interrupted our gossip. Girls, stop it. You have a family member that's gay, and this could hurt their feelings. My sister and I exchanged quick glances of panic. Wait, what? Silence smothered the air. I honestly have no idea what she said after that. I was too busy trying to figure out who it was. How could this be? How did I not know? And what did it mean? It certainly was not good. In 1990, I met the man that I would later marry and who became the father of my two beautiful children. When we got married in January of 1994, I hadn't even turned 21. So sidebar, does anybody else think that it's weird that I could get married and not legally drink? Because that's a weird fairy tale on my side. So as far as I was concerned, I had done all the things that I'd been told to do and conditioned to do. I graduated high school. I went off to college. I was determined to be the best wife because I found my Prince Charming, just like the stories promised. So why was it that something was off? Why was I spending a little too much time thinking about how pretty some girls were? Why did I feel drawn to some women and not others? What was wrong with me? Fairy tales end with a wedding and just say, and they lived happily ever after. So as a person who overthinks everything, I have no idea who I thought queer people were. I didn't look like other girls who didn't date boys. Newsflash, I didn't really know that it was okay for girls to be queer. But how would I? What fairy tale, role model, or TV show even suggested that I could like girls? I mean, looking back, I was watching women role models on TV, but they were role models on how to be a badass. I loved the only female member of the A-team. Her name was Amy. I loved watching Catwoman, but I really loved, and I still love, Wonder Woman. Man, those spins. I still want my own lasso of truth. So on April 30th, 1997, and shortly after my 24th birthday, Ellen DeGeneres came out to the world, personally and as the character on her TV show. She was the first lesbian lead character on a major network, but she also lost her career for 3 years in doing so. According to a study in 2015, she did more to influence Americans' attitudes about gay rights than any other celebrity or public figure. The following year, President Obama awarded her with the Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian award, acknowledging her bravery. Also in 2015, after years of being over, it came as no surprise to others that my marriage ended. But what came to many people's surprise is that I began to date a woman. Some of my closest friends and family knew that I was attracted to women, but not my kids. How do you tell your kids, Mommy also likes girls? Let me be clear. I raised my children with an understanding of acceptance and tolerance to be good allies. But it had already been a tough year, and they were struggling. My ex told me that if I didn't tell the kids that he would, another pinch from that belt to my psyche. I lost friendships of 30 years. I became the topic of gossip. So much fear and so many conversations when I couldn't even make sense of it all. I can't imagine the difficulty my teenage self would have had coming out. The fear, the shame, the questioning of acceptance. Pinch, pinch. I think coming out in your 40s has to be easier than what it might have been for my friends coming out in the 80s and 90s, if they even came out. One classmate didn't come out to his mom until just a few years ago, and he was then quickly warned not to tell his dying father. Another pinch. And can we talk about this term, coming out, for a minute? I invite each of you to think differently. Us queer folk, we're letting you in. We are letting you in and being vulnerable. We are letting you into our spaces, ones where we can be authentic. We have seen hate. We know friends who have been kicked out of their homes and lost their families. We have seen or endured discrimination and bullying. We know people are actively trying to harm us politically and personally. We know the stories of suicide, the struggle of not loving or accepting ourselves. We know the risk of speaking our truth. Pinch, pinch, and pinch. This is why visibility is so very important. In 2017, Dr. Jennifer O'Brien wrote, "When people are able to see something represented, they are better able to understand and grasp who those people are, and this creates an important shift in the social consciousness to include people from a range of different backgrounds." A blogger, Julian Crossan-Hill, said it best. LGBTQ visibility is about being a beacon of hope and acceptance to other queer people as they come to terms with their queer identity. It's also about protecting our rights and reminding the rest of society that not everyone walks to the beat of the same drum. End quote. I don't say this lightly because I believe that it could help save a life. We must be visible. And we need all the allies that we can find. If you aren't sure what to do, please find me after the show. So, maybe you're wondering about my happily ever after. I'd rather say that just like a Hallmark movie, there's no surprise. I got the girl. Or maybe she got me, I don't know. I tell people all the time that I followed love to Illinois. On November 15, 2016, I legally and secretly married Dr. Celeste Weave at the courthouse just around the corner from here. Unbeknown to our family and friends, we changed our plans because we couldn't risk having another Kim Davis refusing to marry us in Kentucky. So on a very hot, and I mean very hot, July 22nd of 2017, we celebrated our love safely and with our family. And for the record, this time I picked a winery. And fun fact, Celeste and I celebrate both anniversaries. Something else Fairytales don't tell you. So I want to end by saying, while some trips back home can be uncomfortable, I'm learning how to loosen that uncomfortable belt. And I proudly trade it for the lasso of truth. Thank you to my family and friends, especially my children and Celeste. I love you all so very much, and thank you all for your support.